Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk about surrender. Surrender is what I call the missing link in all of the spiritual stuff out there. So we're learning, we're reading, we're doing therapies and ceremonies and having experiences, and we're understanding intellectually how spirituality works. And we're even understanding it experientially by getting actual glimpses of the layers of consciousness and what we mean by spirit and what we mean by ego. But as we go deeper and deeper into this, you will hit a point where, well, I'll talk about my experience. I hit a point where I got frustrated, and it seems like the more I knew, the less I knew what to do. As I started to understand that I am not separate from God, I started to get frustrated about prayer. What form does prayer take anymore? And then when you do all those manifesting things where you're trying to visualize and stuff, then you start to put the burden of God on your own self. And that is a heavy burden. I really got um despondent when I was doing when I was heavily into manifestation from a particular understanding. Um, and yeah, I mean, I could go on and on explaining the problem, which is that you know so much, you know nothing. You understand so much that you suddenly realize, oh my God, I understand nothing. But what I want to focus on really is the solution. And the solution, I haven't had the words to put it together until recently. But the solution is what I call surrender. So surrender is one of the hardest words for me to define. I have asked teachers and masters, I was like, what do you mean by surrender? And the answer would confuse me. But I'm going to give you what I understand to be surrender in the simplest terms. And I believe that it is the hub in the wheel. So you have all these different things going on, and at the center of it, the foundation of what we do in our spiritual questing is surrender. Okay, so first let me go. So let's understand the layers of our being, right? If you're watching this video, if you're on the spiritual path, then you understand that you have a mind, you have thoughts, you have emotions, you have a body, you have an energy body. You have probably come across your subtle body, your astral body, your pranic or chi body. You understand that you have consciousness. You understand that you have chakras. You understand that you are a limited being having a limited experience right now, but you are also spirit and that you are infinite in your nature. You understand all of these things in whatever words and terms make sense in your mind. And I call this your system, right? You are multi-level being, and all of these levels, as you become aware of them, when you learn how to optimize them, how to control them, how to express them, then you live a more and more majestic life, a more masterful life. You are literally the master of your system. So um, I understand that my thoughts can drain my energy, and I now can exercise control over which thoughts I choose to engage with. I understand that my thoughts create my emotions, and I can choose to stop the momentum of building a negative emotion by shifting where I focus my awareness. Um, I'm aware that my ego is here to protect me, but it is fundamentally a cautious being, and I can see the world through caution and fear and various versions of that, or I can choose to surrender to the heart and see the world in different ways. So this is just a quick example of how you become the master of your system. The conductor of your orchestra is another way I like to say it, because there's so many parts of you, but you say, okay, how am I? How is my body? How is my energy? How's my energy body? Okay, where is my consciousness? Is it in fear? Is it in happiness? And you do all of this as best as you can. But here's the thing, no matter how long you've been on the path, how long you've been meditating and all these things, the one who is doing all of this is the ego. Okay? It is the limited self. Let's first try to get rid of the whole cringe factor around that word. It's okay. The ego, it's fine. You are an ego, I'm an ego. We're acting from ego right now. It's why I'm here. It's like um in the movie The Avatar with the blue people, if I told one of those what's the guy's name, Jake Sully or something, what if I told him you're an avatar? He can't get offended at that. He is an avatar. And right now I'm sitting speaking to this being that is at the end of the day an avatar. And it's okay for you to accept that right now the one sitting here speaking is the limited self, the apparently separate self, the ego. I have a name, I have whatever, I have identifications, I have a history, I have a story. And the problem is not that I am the ego. The problem is if I get lost in the ego, if I forget that I'm the ego, if I'm driven by the unconscious aspects of the ego. But an ego that is in alignment with what it's supposed to do and in surrender to what is the highest will is not in any way really harmful. As long as you're not unaware of the presence and influence of the ego, then ego is not an evil thing. Okay, we were sent with an ego to this earth because that helps us to function in this world. Okay, I don't want to get lost now. I know it sounds like a great big build up, and I'm heading somewhere with this. So you are a diverse system, and you understand this. All of your spiritual seeking has helped you to understand how all these layers work, and now you're trying to control them, and you're trying to say, okay, mind do this, emotion do that, energy do that. I'm gonna breathe to become awake, I'm gonna breathe to go to sleep, I'm gonna eat for fire, I'm gonna eat for air, and there's so much. The difference between this being a good practice and this being just more unconscious ego taking over the system and keeping you away from spirit is whether or not you are in surrender. Okay, so I drove myself crazy trying to be the best person in the world, trying to be the best conductor of the most complex orchestra in the world. But the truth is that as an ego, I don't understand enough. Just because I read some books and just because I went to some courses doesn't mean that I am truly worthy of being the master of my systems. Even take something as simple as eating. Should I eat this? Should I not eat that? Maybe, oh, what about the. And you can drive yourself crazy with that. The decision of what should I do now? What should I do next? What is my vision for the next 6 months? What is my vision for the next year? Yes, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to do these things as best as you can, but there is a limit to your ability. It is the state that you're acting in. You and I, if you were sitting in front of me and we were talking, we are existing in a state of limited understanding, limited consciousness, cannot be helped. And therefore, we can only make mistakes. We can make smaller and smaller mistakes. We can come close to being successful, but not really, because we don't actually understand what successful is. I don't know why this metaphor is coming to my mind, but I'm going to share it with you. Just one of those reels, I think it was on a short on YouTube, about a guy. He was, I think, somewhere in the, I'm going to say like Pakistan or something, but in a country that's far away from America. He has never been to America and is not educated in English, but he listens or he happens to hear a lot of news like radio and CNN and stuff. And he he was performing his version of what he thinks English sounds like. And he didn't get any of the words correct, but he got the intonation right, he got the inflections right, he got a little accent going, and it was really amusing. It was cute. But that is as close as he will ever get to English because he's not trained in how to speak English. English is not what he is. So that is a visual metaphor to explain what we're doing right now. When your ego is trying to lead the system, to conduct your orchestra, when your ego is trying to manifest, when your ego is trying to visualize, when your ego is trying to force something via prayer, when your ego is trying to make decisions on your system, or discipline your body, then you are just coming, you're trying to mimic what you think spirit would want for you, but you will never fully get there because you don't really understand. Just like that guy can listen to hours and hours and hours of radio, but he'll never really understand the English language because, he's just in the metaphor. Because I mean, you can learn a language, but in the metaphor, he's only going to learn how to pronounce things more and more like an English speaker, but he's not actually going to be able to do it. In the same way, your ego is never fully going to be able to be spirit. Your ego is never going to have um, the wisdom, the inspired understanding, the higher perception of your higher self. So, all of this is to say that your ego's job, you as the ego, let's not create a third person here, you as the ego, your job is not to try to do the work of spirit. Your job is not to mimic spirit or try to be spiritual. Your job is to allow spirit. And that is where the surrender comes in. You have the one thing that is ego's territory, that belongs to ego exclusively and to no one else, is free will. And you have the free will to step aside and to say, I bring my entire system, I bring my entire orchestra to spirit. And through my free will, I ask for the guidance and leadership of spirit, and choose to step aside. The ego does not die, the ego is not killed. Well, let's not go into like extreme circumstances, but that's not what we're seeking here. We're not seeking to banish and perish the ego. We're asking the ego to drop the reins long enough to allow, to acknowledge that spirit can do this better, and to allow spirit to do it. And ego just simply does that one day when you understand, hey, I'm a limited being. I only understand so much. I only have so many tools. And I can't not mess it up no matter how well intentioned or disciplined I am. I can't not mess it up because I just don't have that level of understanding. I don't see enough at my level of perception to understand what is the right and wrong decision to do. When you come to that, there's a humbleness that comes inside of you, and you say, okay, okay, all right, okay, all right. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Go ahead, you know. And you step aside and you stop resisting and you allow spirit to infuse your being, all the layers. It just, it's like spirit is just standing to the side very politely and saying, I got you if you want me to got you. And you're like busy doing stuff, busy, busy, busy. But at one point you go, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that I do not have the wisdom to do this on my own. And that my job as a separate self is to bring all of my parts to you, Spirit, and to bend and bow and surrender to you. And the spiritual path is the relationship that you have with that inner being. Eventually, you know that being like your friend, you know that being's voice, you know what that being feels like energetically, you know what it feels like when spirit is once again conducting the body. Um, you know what it's like when you have left the you have lifted your attention from the incessant thought stream, and you have allowed yourself to just sort of drift through the sky that is spirit. You know what that feels like, and that relationship evolves. um it's just a beautiful relationship that evolves with time, and your job is to allow that space more and more in your life, and to build your ability to get to that space, or to allow that space, and to set your free will to allow it. And so all of what I just said there is what I call surrender. And your role, your privilege as the ego is to allow surrender, to bring your entire system into complete surrender more and more frequently. And only you can do it. Because in this play, this game that we're in right now, free will is yours. You have the controls, and only you can say, time for spirit now. So I know it sounds as though this is going against everything that you know, you're like, what, this is madness. My spiritual awakening has taught me that I should do this and do that. I'm not saying that any of what you have learned is wrong. I'm just saying that the missing link, the missing detail in it is that you have to surrender and ask spirit to do this for you. So whether it is you're doing yoga and you're trying to unite your energy body with your physical body, or whether you are trying to solve a problem, or whether you are um, looking for inspiration, whatever it is, I could give you 100 million examples. It's not about opening your spiritual notebook and saying, let me try this, let me try that, let me try that. No, it's about bringing this intention before spirit, saying, spirit, this is what I'm working on right now, and I need your help. And I know that you know how to do this, and I'm just going to step aside. I'm just going to step aside. The stepping aside process is a whole nother thing. Ultimately, I would say 99.99% of the work is getting to the place where you surrender your free will. A little bit of it is, okay, how do I get out of the mind? How do I get into the heart space? How do I get into stillness? How do I, contact or allow spirit? And, I'll go into those in other videos, but for now, it's really just about that state of surrender. There comes a point, I believe, in everybody's spiritual path, or at least in mine, where you go, oh my God, I now know so much. I have no idea what to do now. It's just too much. And you're not meant to handle all of those things. There is a divine mother, and she is capable of doing everything for you on your behalf. And it's okay to fall into her arms and allow her to take care of you. So, anyhow, this was just me talking about surrender. It was way longer than I expected it to be. I hope this was informative and useful. Please let me know in the comments what you think about this. Did you understand? Is it clear? Have I confuffled you even more? It is very clear in my mind. It's clarity that came to me fully in most recently on my spiritual path. So I will keep trying to explain this to you. Please tell me how I can try differently or more. If you like these videos, please do subscribe. I have a lot of content that I have planned coming up, several videos a week. Also, check the link in the description. I have all kinds of stuff coming up. I have a book that's coming out. I have workshops and courses that are coming out. If you want to know about that, please sign up for the newsletter. It's in the description. And if you want to support me and this channel and help make it easier to do the work that I do, there's a link for that also. And if you want to learn more about workshops, courses, live streams, Zoom classes, all that kind of stuff, there's information in the description. So please have a look. And thank you for watching. And I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy your day, everyone. Bye.